What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, returning to the conceptual album / musical Chess. Once again, thank you to Robert, of course, by Benny, Bjorn, and Tim Rice. And the next tune is it Florence and the American, or the American and Florence? The American and Florence and Nobody's Side. So I'm guessing Florence is one of the character names, and the American, we already have a sense, this is the chess player representing the United States. Nobody's Side, I wonder whether this is someone articulating the idea that they're not taking sides either in terms of the players or geopolitically, but expressing some degree of neutrality, maybe a bit like the referee, the official, the judge. Nevertheless, I wonder if we will hear two distinct sections. That would be my guess based on the way the title is two-part, so that there may be some great sonic or vocal switch, maybe not halfway through in a literal sense, but at some point across the course of the duration. Either way, I'll try to catch what I can. This is Benny, Bjorn, and Tim Rice. The track is The American and Florence and Nobody's Side.
Wanna lose your only friend, well keep it up, you're doing fine. Why this humiliation? Why treat me like a fool? I've taken shit for 7 years and I won't take it anymore.
I'm only teasing Soviets with gentle bonhomie. You've a better reason to be anti them than me.
There's a time and there's a place.
Is this the girl who always said she wants to know the truth?
There's a time and there's a place.
Budapest is rising, 1956. Budapest is rising.
I'd have thought you'd support any attack on these people.
1956. Budapest is rising.
On the people who ran mindlessly over your childhood. Don't let them fool you. For 30 years on, they're the same.
1956. Budapest is fighting. 1956. Budapest is falling.
They see chess as a war, playing with pawns just like bonums. If you walk out on me, they will have won their first battle. Wouldn't your father have begged you to stay in the game?
He would, but he didn't know you. He'd loathe your behavior, and so do I. Why'd you have to do this to me? What's going on around me is barely making sense. I need some explanations fast. I see my present partner in the imperfect tense, and I don't see how we can last. I feel I need a change of cast. Maybe I'm a normal decided when he gives me reasons to justify each move. They're getting harder to believe. I know this can't continue. I've still a lot to prove. There must be more I could achieve, but I don't have the nerve to leave. Everybody's playing the game, but nobody's rules are the same. Nobody's on nobody's side. Better learn to go it alone. Recognize you're all on your own. Nobody's on nobody's side. The one I should not think of keeps rolling through my mind, and I don't want to let that go. No lover's ever faithful, no contract truly signed. There's nothing certain left to know. And now the crack begin to show. Never make a promise or plan. Take a little love where you can. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never stay too long in your bed. Never lose your heart, use your head. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never take a stranger's advice. Never let a friend fool you twice. Nobody's on nobody's side. Everybody's playing the game, but nobody's rules are the same. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never leave a moment too soon. Never waste a heart afternoon. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never stay a minute too long. Don't forget the best will come along. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never be the first to believe. Never be the last to receive. Nobody's on nobody's side. Never make a promise or plan. Take a little love where you can. Nobody's on nobody's side.
The composition of this album and its constituent songs is incredible, and I mean that both in terms of the instrumentation, the vocal writing, the sequencing or chronology of the songs. It's just incredible, and of course it is very visual. I feel like I'm listening to a musical, and yet in terms of the songs that you hear sonically, it's great, it's compelling, meaning you could listen to it as I am without seeing the story visually or cinematically, and it is still a very compelling and engaging experience. So yeah, it is, I suppose, two parts, this song, but it's like they blend together more overtly than I expected. And I'm very intrigued by what I'm hearing lyrically. Okay, so first of all, it sounds like the American is talking to this Florence in a way that I think is a bit unfair, and although he is criticizing the Soviet side, I think historically, politically, in ways that are on some level fair, it's also unfair the way that he's saying to Florence, who I guess is Polish. I feel like it could be maybe a more general point, or a point that's using a specific reference, but maybe not necessarily about her. But the idea that, the Soviet Union, they're doing what they have for 30 years. They invade, they dominate, they try to forcibly assimilate, and your grandfather who would have resisted them, who would have fought against them, what if he could see you now, and he's like accusing her of taking their side, or at least explaining away or excusing their imperial behavior. And the idea that, which I don't know specifically, what was it, like 56, roughly 30 years before this, perhaps that's when they rolled their tanks into Krakow and other parts of Poland. I am familiar with some of the Soviet imperial actions, like Czechoslovakia in 68, I think it was. So the idea that they would have taken over, and the way they're trying to impose their will on people and cultures and societies, your grandfather wouldn't have liked it. But she is saying, and in fact I think he's making reference to the game as, it's chess is just like the politics and the warfare that they've engaged in, using pawns and, subjecting them to their whims and using them as tools in their larger geopolitical aspirations. She's saying that's just what chess, or he's saying that's just what chess is, and can't you see it, and don't you know that your grandfather would be condemning you? And she's saying, I think rightfully, whoa, number one, that's not fair. And number two, I never signed a contract, and the idea that you're trying to use this angle is indicative of not only an unfair approach, but an immoral type of way to try to get me on board. And so she seems to be saying that, I'm not beholden to you, and just because, some of what you say may be technically accurate, it's not right to bring that up in the context of our personal connection. And so it's like the game is functioning on three levels here, like the game of chess, the game of geopolitics, and this, what's the right word? This articulation of this larger theme in the context of this chess tournament, but also the game between them on a like psycho-emotional or romantic level. So she's like arguing for her own independence and not being swayed by his like underhanded comparison, and almost like demanding that she show some affection or loyalty to him. And then also, of course, the literal stage or setting of the song. I enjoy the choral vocals and the there's like recitative where like it's almost speak singing, but she's also singing very passionately and defiantly, which of course like conveys this idea that like, hey, I'm me, and I'm not just gonna fall in line with what you say because you're trying to make some grand point about the political machinations that are happening here. So yes, I enjoy the keys, there's some great keyboard work, there's great, I think, guitar, definitely like dynamic percussion and impactful drumming. So yeah, it's another one where it's functioning on multiple levels, it's composed fantastically in terms of the melody, in terms of the instrumentation and arrangement, and I feel like I'm watching a story, even if some of the details here and there I'm not quite sure of, and I'm literally not seeing it. So yes, another really compelling composition and performance. I do wonder who the female vocalist was, because I think she does a great job, and again, she's like shout singing in parts, and there's, a real energy and emotion that comes through her vocal delivery. So yes, another incredible tune from this. Once again, shout out to Robert. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.